So this is a chat about how we should be changing performance conversations in organizations. I was trying to figure out what to call this video. I think a better name for this video might be teaming like teams. Like, we try to operate like teams in organizations, but we don't. If you think of any sports team, there's this ongoing dialogue across everyone on the field about what's going on and what we might do about it. How does that look in an organization? I think it looks a bit like this. If we think of our traditional organization, we have a leader and it cascades down to department heads and teams and so forth. But if we take a look at the work that people do, it doesn't quite fit that top-down organization chart structure. So let's take a look at the work that people do. So what I've done is I've lined up the teams down the left. And so let's take a look at one department. And so there's a bunch of things that that department does. And the bar represents the amount of effort that these different individuals are putting into the teamwork. And of course, it's this team. And so the leader is the one that's going to be watching what's going on. And they need participation from some other groups, like, for example, the call center. Now, these people not only work in that one department, but they might be called into other projects as well. And so perhaps for this project, they report to that project lead, and for this project, they report into that project lead. And everyone's going to have their own profile. They have a different level of participation in these different projects. So that's the reality of how work gets done these days. Now, the dilemma is with that traditional top-down performance management, the leader only gets to see a portion of the work you do. So this is representing what the leader gets to see. What does this mean? It means the majority of work you do, even in that one department, is not seen by your leader. And therefore, when they have those one-on-one conversations and performance reviews, it's based just on the sample set of the work that they actually do see. And of course, they see a disproportionate amount of work based on the sort of tasks you're doing. Do you need extra support from your leader, and so forth? And of course, the same thing goes on with the person leading each of these projects. They get to see a sliver of your work. And again, what that means is any of their performance reviews by nature are going to be imperfect, right? Because no one has a complete view of what your work is that you get done. What it means is leaders are going to take a look at it from their top-down perspective, and that has a certain skew to it. The most significant of which is they don't see how hard you work inside of the team or how you collaborate. They only see you as that individual and the individual output that you might have generated. So it's an incomplete view, and was probably structured before we had the huge amount of teamwork and cross-functional work that we currently have going on. But if we take a look at any one individual, what we should be able to recognize is who has a better view of how this person is performing. Well, their teammates. And again, back to my metaphor of a sports team, right? When you're out there in the field, your teammates are giving you ideas, instructions, observations from their perspective. And so they can give you feedback about how you're doing inside that team. But of course, they don't know how you're doing inside this other team. So they can give you that peer-to-peer recognition. And that's things like kudos and high fives if they recognize you've done something. It may also be unscripted conversations. So coaching type conversations, or you may even track some ad hoc conversations between people if people want to give you some feedback, or you could have it structured. So structured feedback are things like you could have a 360 done, etc., or even structured surveys of your peers if you want to get some feedback. So we can get that from all the different teams that you work on. And now we've got a whole bunch more information about how you're performing. So now when we take a look at it, we should be able to take a look to see what peer-to-peer conversation and feedback you're getting, plus that more structured feedback from the various leaders. Now we have a more holistic view of performance. So this is an argument to say, let's make performance an open conversation. It's a continuous conversation across all levels in the organization, top down, bottom up, peer to peer, and gets consolidated by the employee so that now when you have that performance review, it's a much more data-rich experience. We'd love to share more of our ideas with you. There are probably about 300 YouTube videos that we've recorded that you can find on our YouTube page. We also write a continuous series of blogs about OKR and related topics. Or feel free just to give us a phone call or email me. Happy to have a conversation about any of these topics. Talk to you soon. We'd love to share more of our ideas with you. There are probably about 300 YouTube videos that we've recorded that you can find on our YouTube page. We also write a continuous series of blogs about OKR and related topics. Or feel free just to give us a phone call or email me. Happy to have a conversation about any of these topics. Talk to you soon.